We're here at the RC Underground, and we're going to be talking to Nick Ciccone, winner of the very first Midwestern 200. We're going to talk Midwestern history, and then we're just going to see where the conversation goes. So please join me. Let's welcome Nick to the program. Nick, welcome.
Hey, how you doing, Dave?
Good, buddy. Okay. Can you believe it? So we're going to be racing here at the RC Underground, and Nick will be in the field with trying to make it down to 5 spots in the main. And this race goes back. This could be the 18th edition. How nuts is that?
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know any other RC race, and I'm sure it's out there. And once we post this to YouTube, I know people are going to put in the notes, yeah, we ran this race for 22 years or whatever. But as far as I know, this has got to be one of the oldest running RC races in the country.
Yeah, I think it's the longest standing for sure.
Yeah. 18. And there were some gaps because, like I said, the first race was in 1981. Then there was, then we ran pretty consistently. Then there was a gap. It's also been run in several different configurations or scales, if you want to. I mean, we started out in 12 scale, and we moved to 10 scale. And we've actually been 18th scale before for this race, but now we are with the 1RC cars, which are, as you can see here on the table, are 1/18th scale. And, dude, what do you think of these cars?
That's why I'm back. These cars are something else. They're the real deal. It's just like being at the track, looking at the real cars.
Yeah, and the way they handle and the way they respond to making changes to them is just nuts.
Yeah, well, as you know, this is maybe my third time. I think it's my third time racing them. So it's a learning curve, big time for me.
Yeah.
I mentioned it earlier today. I'm used to soldering things and ripping wires and using wing nuts and wire nuts, and that doesn't apply here. The changes and the fixes that you do are just super detailed, simple, couple tools. These things are amazing.
Yeah.
I love them.
Well, and honestly for me, I mean we get to hang out together again. I mean, it's been years. We basically grew up together on the same block. And just all these guys, George Maury, who's also run Midwesterns in the past. And I think he's raced in just about every scale.
Yeah.
But here's the interesting fact. He's never won one.
A Midwestern?
No.
Really?
I thought he did. And
I thought he did too.
He's like, yeah, I got a trophy downstairs from Midwestern. Yeah, I must have won one. I'm looking in my archives. He writes me back and he goes, nope, it was 3rd place.
Okay. I thought he won 10 scale.
I
when
did
I wasn't
too.
racing.
I did too, but I went back and that was his name was not on the board, which is very surprising. But he said he's ready.
Okay. Well, good.
Much like you, he's built his own car.
Okay.
So I get bragging rights. I'm like the Hendricks Motorsports of this thing because you guys came here, put both my cars in the feature. It was the Kenman, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. We're going to talk a little bit about the Kenman, but put both my cars in the main. You guys came back the next race, put my cars in the main. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's that's bragging rights. And
nicely
actually
put together.
Yeah. So let's just jump right into the Kenman really quick. We'll give a little background. They're like, Kenman, what's that? Well, that was my dad, Ken Brinkman. He got this crazy train circus started 1978. He comes home with these RC cars and he's like, yeah, I bought these for us. I'm like, that is like the coolest thing ever. Like, they're not on a track. He's like, no, you can do whatever you want with them. I'm like, you have to be kidding me. And we started racing those at the warehouse at Carpet Town.
Yep.
And you started coming out with us, right?
I did.
And so, yeah, my dad was the pioneer of this deal. And I think at one point, and you probably tell the story best, it was like everybody that had a car, he was the crew chief for everybody.
Well, it's funny because that's what I was just sitting here thinking about an hour ago was Ryan, one of the drivers, made mention to age, and I realized that back then your dad was the grandpa of the group. He was everybody's dad. He had everybody involved. He got us all into racing, and we were the kids.
Exactly.
And now I look around and we are the grandpas of the group.
We are. Yeah.
I just wish he was here to see it.
Oh,
you know.
Oh, he's smiling down.
Oh,
I mean, there's
absolutely.
no doubt, but he would have absolutely ate this up. I mean,
Yeah.
he would be here every weekend.
Oh,
racing.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. He'd be here racing every weekend. So
Yeah. Undoing certain things you did.
exactly. And probably doing them
Fixing
way
it.
better.
Right.
Doing them way, the wall wouldn't keep moving the way that it does now. I'll
Actually,
tell you
I think
that.
he would walk down here and just be blown away.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope
I
he'd
think
be
so.
proud.
He
I hope
would-
he'd be proud.
He'd have
And
loved
just
it.
that we're, so it was important to me that when we kicked this off, the first race had to be in his honor in some way. And so his name was Ken Brinkman. Back at the time, a lot of guys that built chassis and stuff, I don't know why, they would use their first and last name or something of their name. And I don't know if it was you or somebody else, but I remember being at Alley View and somebody yells out, well, you're like Dennis Frings had his name, and there was Bempco, and everybody's name. He's like, you're like Kenman. And from that second on, that stuck.
I think that was your Uncle Dean.
It sounds like a
Yep.
Dean. Yeah, it sounds like a Dean quote. Yep, and it just stuck from then on. And we just called him Kenman all the time. And actually, it's in the background. I need to move it so it's in our actual background next time. That's his clock. We gave him that as an award. That was for his 100th feature start.
Wow.
And actually, when I look here, he was on top. So this was updated in 1992. Was the last time it was updated.
Wow.
He ran 112 features. He was the all-time points leader. He had 9,616 points. But guess who was right behind him?
Don't know.
George Murray.
Wow.
George Murray. He may not have won a Midwestern, but he did win a championship. So my dad won a championship in 82, as you said. That's right around the time we started Storm. Then he won it again in 87. George won it in 86. Let's see, where are you at? You won it in 83. You were Rookie of the Year in 82, came back and won it in 83.
Okay.
And then Joey Baccicalupi, easy name, right? Lots of vowels.
Right.
He won it in 84. And then it was the Stoltz Brigade. Jay and Jeff Stoltz just went on a rampage. Jeff Stoltz actually won championships from 1988 through 1991 consecutively.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? But anyways, just the history, So through 92, I had this thing updated. So that was kind of fun. Let's see where you're at in this stuff. So you were fourth all-time in polls with 13, and then all-time victories, you were third, actually tied for second with Kenman with 18. Jeff Stoltz had 22, and you guys each had 18. So that's pretty interesting.
Would have been nice. I wonder what would have happened if I would have stuck around.
Right.
I didn't run 10 scale.
Yeah, you didn't run any 10 scale.
I only ran a couple 18 scale cars.
Yeah.
Or races.
Yeah.
It would have been fun to see what would have happened.
Yeah, so what's crazy now is you had your son out here, Big Ange, Little Ange. But this isn't the first son you've brought to the racetrack.
No, it's not.
Right.
Tend to forget about that. It's been so many years.
Right.
Yeah, Nick. I brought Nick around. It didn't stick with him. He was more of the hockey, baseball, football, you name it, athletic kid.
Quite a hockey player. Not just dabbled in it. He was amazing.
And now as must be my agent calling.
So yeah, what was fun with that too? The first time when you brought Nick Jr. around, my son Kyle raced a little bit. I was trying to remember, what were they, like 8?
Yeah, they had to be about 8 years old, somewhere in there.
Yeah, that's
7,
what I was thinking. So
yeah, my thought with Angelo is he's 6. If he can come here and feel like it's fun right out of the starting gate, then moving forward, he'll want to keep doing it repeatedly year after year, and maybe we'll just keep moving him up.
Yeah, and it's so fun. I mean, just today. So let me set the stage today. So next week is the Midwestern, and we had an open practice today. And, everybody was wicked fast. It's going to be such a great race next week. I mean, there's more guys coming, and yeah, it's going to be crazy. But Ronnie Zima had his son here. So we have another second generation, RJ. Now, RJ's older. I think he's like 37, but it's just cool. It's just cool to see fathers and sons and, enjoying this hobby. Again, that's where my dad would just be.
Well, I mentioned earlier I needed a new shock, and I asked Ryan if you have a stock of parts, and you opened up your tray, and it reminds me back of the late 70s, early 80s, when we'd go in your garage, and it looked more like a hobby shop than a hobby shop.
Yeah. Well, my dad actually bought a hobby shop out.
The walls were just stocked with parts.
Yeah. He came home one day and he's like, I need you to help me move some boxes. I'm like, why? What's going on? He's like, I bought out a hobby shop. I'm like,
yeah.
He goes, well, all their RC stuff for the 10 scale cars. Because they're going out of business, and I bought the whole thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I see this place going, underground. Yeah. Steering in that direction. It's going to have both. You're not going to need to order anything online. It's all going to be right here on the walls.
Right. All right. Let's just go to it, man. Like, are you going to win this thing next week?
I have my eyes set on two things this year, and that's the Midwestern and the Kenman. Anything in between that is a bonus. And I'm going to walk away with the Midwestern. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
It's my race.
And it's a different deal. These guys are running laps, but they got to remember there's going to be a battery change in there. Just like the old days. Now, a little different. It's going to be what's called a control caution. They're doing a lot of that in real racing, where there'll be a set point in the race. We haven't picked that lap yet. And I take that back. There's actually going to be 2 stops. You have to make at least one during the race. You have to stop at least one time, but you don't have to stop both times.
Okay.
Now, going 200 laps on this track, you could do the whole thing on one battery. I'm confident in that. Guys are running that all day long today. Whether they were testing that, I don't know. So they might not know what the real rules are, because this is kind of the first time we're talking about it. But, yeah, so the caution will come out, the field will freeze, and you go into the pits. All right. You can't advance. You're not going at it as fast as you can. You can take your time. It's going to be like a 4-minute break. Okay. But cars that elect, so say on the first stop, there's certain cars that elect not to come in. If they were a lap down, say, they could advance their position that way. They're not racing on the track. They're not lapping cars that are in the pits. But if it is a strategy to say, I know I don't need to stop now. I can stop on the next stop, right? You can then advance your position. Everybody in the pits cannot. The way you came in is the way you're going to go back out. The only way you can advance is if you stayed out and didn't make a stop. Now, when you come in to stop, you don't even have to undo the batteries. You just at least have to come in, open that door, and then close it back up, and then get ready to go. It's not that you get ready to go again and you shoot out on the track. It's not that. It's just, if you're like, hey, this is the set. This is my special set. I know I can go 200 on it. I don't even want to take it out of the car. You can do that.
Could we change batteries on both stops?
Absolutely, you can. Yeah,
okay.
And it's funny you bring that up, because I think that's going to be a possible strategy, because the power difference of the front end of a stop, right?
I do.
Yeah. Here's another thing I'll throw out to you. Who resauces their tires?
Good point.
Does somebody change a tire? I mean, there's so many. Again, it's just such a different. It's what we did for 15 years, right?
Yep.
But we did it on the fly, and it was amazing how many races had multiple cars on the lead lap at the end. You would think it'd just become enduro. People say, "Oh, we've done that. That's enduro racing." I don't know why, but I don't know if it was the pace car or what it was, but we had a lot of races where it was multiple cars. Almost every race was at least 2 cars, but there were many races where there were multiple cars, on the lead lap.
On the lead lap, yep.
Yep. So let's go back real quick to this first Midwestern. What do you remember about that?
Sadly, not a lot.
We are at that age.
It's a long time ago.
Right.
I remember winning it. That's it.
Yep.
That's all I need to remember.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Yep. And for a whole year, everybody else remembered that too.
Pretty much.
Yep. Like we said, then you came back in 82. You made everybody wait again.
I do remember one thing about it. That was my first interview that I was forced to do, standing on a trailer with your dad. And that was my very first interview, and I did not like it.
Yeah. You know the scary part? I have that photo.
Oh.
And when I upload this, I'm going to make sure I throw that photo in there. Yeah. It was pretty hilarious.
That makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So you came back in 82 and you won it again. Then everybody would think, well, that was the streak. It's over. And we had a bunch of new drivers come. But then you did it again in 86.
It was a great track. I mean, it was a great place to race. There were secrets to it that some knew and some didn't know, and you kept it to yourself. And that's it. It was a great track to play with tires.
Yeah, it was.
And that was my thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And you were very consistent. Like we see Mark Sweeney and we see Ryan out here and Todd Booker recently, today. But yeah, consistency is the key. Like you were the man. Now, I was thinking about this myself. Alley View Speedway is what we're talking about. It was literally in our backyard at my house, and it faced the alley. And that's why I got the name Alley View. Isn't this a lot like that?
It's almost identical to it. Maybe a little bit shorter, maybe. But it's pretty darn close.
Yeah. It's even got the little nook. Yep. Remember by the garage door, there was like a nook?
So it's almost identical, the nook.
Yeah. 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 It's crazy. Yeah. It's been so fun.
Advantage? I don't know. Maybe.
You could throw that out there.
Okay.
So... All right, buddy. Hey, we are coming up on the 20-minute mark. That's exactly. I didn't want to hold you up too long. I know you got a long ride home. You're going to be back here next week to run the Midwestern. You're ready, though.
I am very ready. Yeah. Okay. Pumped.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Good to see you.
Have a great day.